Hello and welcome to another video from MathSense. Today we are going to discuss about lesson plan. As you can see, I'm logged into the student dashboard and I'm in the lesson plan tab. On the top of the page we have all these numbers: 56 lessons planned, 31 lessons not started, 22 lessons in progress, 3 lessons completed, and 35 sessions till date. These are the number of times the student has logged in to work on his lesson plan. Below that is something called a competency score graph, and I'll get back to that in just a minute, but first I'm going to scroll down to the actual lesson plan, which is down here. As you can see, we have lessons added to the lesson plan at different grade levels. We have lessons from grade 4, 5, 6 and 7 added to this student's lesson plan, even though he took the diagnostic test when he was in grade 7 in school. As we discussed in the other video on the diagnostic test, we want to make sure that the student is competent in all the core skills before he is ready to come to his grade level work. So these are the lessons in which he struggled during the diagnostic test, and we want to make sure he attains competency in these skills before he moves on to higher grade level work. Against each lesson we have something called a status, which indicates where he is in terms of progress through that lesson. The top 2 lessons are marked as master. That means he has completed those 2 lessons. To complete a lesson, a student goes through several steps, which is indicated by different status. A student will first answer some questions, which is called practice. And then we are going to skip a few sessions before we address that lesson again, and he will be answering some more questions on that lesson. And this continues for several times over a period of time. The idea behind this is that the student is retaining the information and can answer questions on the lesson even if we don't touch it, even though he is not exposed to it for a while. So that's why there's always a gap between each of these elements, which is practice, and then we have extended practice, and then we have something called retention test, and at the end of it the skill is marked as master. Even after mastery, this lesson is actually dropped into a bucket and goes into something called an integrated test, and you will see a tab on top here. It says integrated test details. We'll discuss that in a different video. On the right side there are some numbers, and if you click on this gray button, you can get these numbers for any lesson that you would like to see. These numbers indicate the number of questions that were thrown to the student, how many got correct and how many he got incorrect. So let's see if this loads. Okay, now in this lesson, which is conversion of mixed fraction to improper fraction, there are 28 questions asked, 28 questions attempted, 0 skipped, 24 answered correctly, and 4 answered incorrectly. And you can do this for any lesson that you would like to see more details about. Now coming back to the competency score graph, this graph is an indicator of how the student is progressing through the program. It is not an absolute indicator, and it is not meant to be compared with the competency score of another student. If you click on the question mark over here, it opens a little window explaining what competency score is. Competency score is a measure of how well the student is progressing through the MathSense program. It takes into account the answer to a question, correct or incorrect, the time taken to answer the question, and whether the question is at, above, or below the student's grade level. Competency score of one student is not expected to be compared with that of another. It should be used to monitor growth and progress of the student as he moves through the program. So the key thing over here is to ensure that the graph is on an upward curve. That means the student is continuing to progress, is continuing to do better in the program. This student started here and went up until this point, and then after that it is kind of flat. So he is not doing any better than what he was earlier. So this is the time when we have to put in a little additional effort and ensure that the student is putting in the effort to answer the question that he should. At the top of the page, you see something called a start session. When the student logs into the system, he comes to this page and he has to click start session to start his actual question answer session. This page is also available from the parent dashboard, and we will show that to you when we discuss the parent dashboard in a different video. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.